Lively Game of the Day. Truniht versus Mr. Cannon. Adder versus Adder.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Semi-original guy, aka Mr. Cannon from AWBW, bringing you another lively game of the day. Today we're featuring myself versus Truniht on Flushed Away. This is a base light matchup with airport and comm tower support with HQs all the way in the corner, folks. We do have a pre-deployed black boat on this match. So I wasn't actually going to cast this match at all, but I was talking to a few people and they were pretty much just saying like, hey, you should probably just cast the match. So here we are, folks. Here we are fighting Truniht. Now, fun fact about me and Truniht, I have never beaten Truniht ever in my entire history in AWBW. We fought many times in the live league, but I have yet to claim a victory against them. But we're here on Flushed Away, folks, so we're gonna see what happens. But Flushed Away is an interesting map because you do need this black boat in order to acquire the airport and the comm tower. Black boats have a limited fuel, so they can only go for so long before they run out of fuel, so you do have to manage that quite well. But the base light dynamic here is pretty interesting because it's a pretty wide open map, so there's not really too many options for you to do with your bases. I mean, the bases have to go into the center, and this base has to either go down here or split off into this direction or go here. Now, this base also is responsible for going over here and protecting your HQ, while the black boat has to wiggle its way all the way down here and then get all the way up here and get to your airport, get to the comm tower, and then make it back to the port before it runs out of fuel. And we have some sort of a weird mess of scribbles on the screen there, folks, but you get the gist of what I'm saying here. So I think we're just going to get into it, folks. Without further ado, let's see what went down in the live league today. We also have an Adder mirror today, folks. So Adder, as we know, gets that +1 movement. I think +1 movement Adder on this map is pretty good. Now, you could go Jess and sort of win the vehicle war, but once the battle copters start rolling out, Adder is just too effective not to use. And I think Truniht thought the exact same thing. So, on the first few days, folks, you all know the deal. Standard infantry builds. You got to get the infantry on the field. Number one priority in AWBW. So we already have a little bit of a difference in play. Now, actually, no, not even a difference in play, because Truniht gets the pre-deployed infantry, so it's already rushing forward. FTA counter. So I move my black boat in, go and back cap a property, and then I get prepared to capture the property closest to the HQ over there in the top corner, which I think is important. I mean, going for the mid is super important. The mid is super contested, especially mid to late game. But I don't go for it right away. Now, maybe that's a mistake, maybe it's not. I don't know. Either way, get a little boosty with my infantry. Doesn't really do anything, but I don't want the black boat to go too far so that I can't move it again. I need it like close by, essentially. I want to get another boosty and or move an infantry somewhere else. That's my thought process behind that. Truniht basically does not really the same thing, but essentially basically the same thing. I mean, getting the boosty here doesn't really do too much in the grand scheme of things. Still going for this property here. These properties are very important. You do want to go and grab those like as quickly as you can, but they're not like the number one priority. Now, you could actually load an infantry into here, then boosty all the way up here, and then maybe contest this property very, very quickly, or even this property over here. But that would delay your capture of the airport. So maybe not the best thing to do. Alright, so I move the black boat into position to start capping the HQ. Or not the HQ, but the airport. Like I said, I think air units are going to be one of the most effective things on this map, so you need to get the airport. Number 2 priority in Advanced by Web is get that flipping airport, folks. You need the airport. Truniht busting out the first tank of the game. Now it is my turn over on day 5. Got the 10k in the bank. Will be able to bust out a tank of sorts this turn. Plop the infantry in position to capture the airport. Build the tank. And now we're gaming, folks. Unfortunately, because Truniht is slightly closer to the middle, he will most likely be able to at least grab one of the properties, and I will not be able to grab any of the properties, folks. Maybe there's a way to prioritize the movements a little bit better so that player 1 can get in the center and grab a property. Maybe there's a property I'm supposed to skip somewhere along the lines, but not sure what it is or where it is. And now we're in this sort of a situation, folks, where Trunit's tank is now in the center of the map. I move my infantry to the side to capture those 2 properties by the HQ. Move my 1 infantry right here into a position where I can interrupt if necessary. And then I can interrupt over here if necessary too. This tank open to attack the mid, depending on where Trunit's tank goes. Now, obviously, the best choice is to put it on one of the cities so that you get maximum defense, and your opponent has absolutely no defense when they attack into it. So it's 130% defense versus, or it's plus 30% defense versus plus 0 defense. All right, but get to bust out another tank. So that is the fortunate thing here. Now it looks like this is going to be a BAAB order tank. Capture chain for sure. All right, so Truniht, yep, sends the tank into the mid, sits it on the city, and now I have a little bit of a situation. I have options. One option is I can play defensively, go in, interrupt this property maybe, lose an infantry, but I can't really move onto this property and threaten a cap because now there's a big flipping stinking tank sitting on it. A little lad right there, folks. Not going to be able to do anything about that. So I decide that the best course of action here is to do what I am best at, and that is flipping brawl it out, folks. I go in for the first strike on this tank, take it down to 6, 7 trade. There we go. So is it a good trade? It's okay. It's okay. It's an okay trade. But I go in for the attack because I know that I have a second tank on the way that's already in position. So now if Truniht wants to go in and he attacks this tank, well then I'm going to clear this tank and I will still have an injured tank left over. Now that would result in me getting first struck by another tank, but then I will have another tank right here to take its place. So I will just be starting the tank wars, and eventually, in my mind, I will be up by a tank. That's my thought process. But Truniht has moved his black boat to capture the comm tower. Now, the issue with this is we're running out of fuel, so he's gonna have to go up and get a refuel here pretty soon. If he chooses to go for the infantry, he might not have the fuel needed to get back to that property. Now, I was thinking about this myself when we were playing the game. So I decided just to leave my black boat here and to use this infantry to capture both of these properties and then bring it back and get the heal or get the refuel. That was my thought. And then I wanted to use the black boat, maybe get him into the center and use it to like get some heals. Maybe use it as a defender, that sort of thing. All right. So I am taking a hit. My tank is all the way down to 2. His tank is at 5 because he moved in with an infantry and took an attack too. Now, like I was saying earlier, I will be able to move down and attack this, but then we have the issue of, once again, the defensive square being open in order for Trunit's tank to move in and take the shot against mine, which will be far more devastating because I will be on 0-star terrain, and that's just going to be a bad time. But I can't just sit idly by and let that happen. So I move right here on the bridge. Now, bridge tile right here, I think, is the optimum place to attack from, because there is only one tile here that this tank will be able to attack from, and that is the city. So if he attacks from, or yeah, he goes in. If he attacks from the city, then that'll be the only tile that he can attack from, because he cannot loop all the way around and attack from over here. So my main priority is to make sure I can sit a unit on the city and it's not going to get destroyed. So I'm going to have to block here, and I'm going to have to block right here. Now, if I form a line and block those 3 areas, he shouldn't have the units available to break the line, so my tank will be fine, and then this tank can move back to this square right here on the city and start getting those heals. Now, some people say that you shouldn't move infantry or mechs or tanks or whatever back to get heals when they're super low. You should just keep them on the front line. I like the idea of healing my units. I feel like overall, you know, it's okay, but either way. So I go and interrupt the bottom corner, because I don't want him to get to property. And I start to capture, and then I actually go in for the double attack instead, which is actually fine. So there's an infantry here that can move over here, attack this, and interrupt. So that would be very problematic for sure. Maybe this tank could have been right here and defend, but it's better over here because there is the potential of a 2-shot right here, which will eliminate that, and then he can move in with either tank or another infantry to interrupt anyways. So my thought process there is mainly just, you know, keep the tank safe. The infantry don't really matter to me too much. I can always make more infantry, and I don't really intend on getting the mid. There's too much fighting going on in the mid right now, so I just can't get it. It's not really worth it to fight for it too much. I just want to keep my tanks alive, and I want to do the damage. I managed to take out 1 tank so far, which is great. So his tank moves in, eliminates the infantry, and then he moves in for the double attack. Now, not a guaranteed KO, but moves in with a 3rd infantry. I guess maybe 4th infantry at this point. And it takes all my infantry down to 2. Moves a 2nd tank into position. Ouch. Yowzers. Once again, got ourselves a situation, folks. I decided to build the battlecopter now, too, because I think first battlecopter on the map, super important. Alright, so I go to 2nd infantry, so that I can move in with my tank, get the KO on the infantry, and then my thought here, I don't really think this is a great move, but my thought is I can first strike this tank. But the problem is we're getting super close to power. So the fact that Truniht can use his power to get +1 movement means that he can get an effective 2 strike on my tank. So he will have 2 fresh tanks over here versus my 1 tank and injured tank that could potentially come in here and do some damage, but it's not going to be like a super big help. I need to get the battlecopter down into the center. That is definitely the priority. But I go in and take the shot. Very curious shot. I think maybe... What was I thinking? I was thinking maybe I could get co-power. Maybe that's what it was. I was thinking I can get co-power, and if I got co-power, I could bring this tank over here and attack this one, but I think I am just shy of it. I am just shy. 200 shy, actually. And you know what is on the field that would have gave me 200 charge? This infantry right here. I could have sacked the infantry into something, like pretty much anything around here, and got enough for the first co-power. Could have brought this tank in here, which would have been great. But maybe it wouldn't have been. You never know. Either way, this is the situation we are in now, folks. Bust up the tank, bring in the battlecopter in. Truniht gets his captures. Goes for the capture here. So this guy's down to 1, so I'm in a position now where I am forced to interrupt it, otherwise he's going to get it. I'm taking the defensive position over here because I can't really push in and clear this guy yet, so there's not really any point to attack. Like, you don't really want to attack into a situation where you're not guaranteed to win or at least slow something down. So when I attacked down here, I knew I would probably lose the infantry, but I would slow down this capture enough that he won't get it. Now I have this infantry in position and I can get the clear, so he's not going to have that income. It's going to be a 14-14 game for the foreseeable future. But this right here, if I was to go in and attack with an infantry, this guy would just counter attack and do a bunch of damage. And this guy could come in and do an attack, but overall, these guys would end up losing to these two infantry because there's also tank reinforcement right here. There's also this infantry right here that can move in. Now, Truniht popped the power, like I was saying. Goes in and actually attacks the fresh the fresh tank with his tank. Very strong hit. Then moves in with 4, and then moves in with full, gets the clear. So now, this is a extremely dangerous situation. Extremely dangerous situation. Because the one problem here is my tank is blocked in. He cannot run away from the danger over here. Because this infantry is right here. Now, I could pop power next turn and get the clear if this infantry decides to stay here. So the tank can run away. I will be able to get over here, get some heals, maybe bring the other tanks in. So it might not be too bad. And now I think Truniht makes a huge mistake. And actually, I'm pretty sure he mentioned this during the game. But since he went down and got this infantry before getting the refuel, he is now going to lose the black boat. And the black boat is super critical. Myself, I still have 17 fuel on the black boat, so he's going to survive. And I'm going to be able to get him over here to get the refuel. And now he's going to be effective for helping funnel infantry and getting over to the mid, maybe getting a couple cheeky heals. So, I capped the comm tower first. Whoa. It's almost like I'm trying. I don't know. Move the tank back. Do an attack. Get the clear. Move the infantry forward. Move the battlecopter forward. Bust out the double tank turn. So now it is the double tank show, folks. But I don't pop power. I mainly don't pop power because there's no real reason to pop power. Like, in general, there's nothing. There's no reason to actually go in and do that because there's no effective attacks you can do. So there's not really any point to waste a power when you're not going to be able to get a whole lot of value out of it. So, yeah, don't want to do that. Infantry moves in for the attack. All 4 of the infantry now are moving up north, which is super dangerous because my HQ is by itself and I only have 2 infantry. So 2 versus 4, it's not going to work. Truniht doesn't want to fight into my area either. So he pulls back. Now he's essentially got exactly what he needs. He's got this property and he's got this property. Now, I did manage to deny this property, which is huge, considering that he managed to get this property. If he got this property too, that would have been a 15-14 deficit, which would have meant that he would get an extra 1,000 per turn, so eventually he would be able to overrun me with just extra money. Whether that extra money is used to get like extra heals, maybe a battlecopter artillery build one turn, you know, maybe battlecopter tank one turn, but either way, dangerous place to be. Now, the most even place for us to be is to be in the situation where we can both get 1 tank per turn. That's the best situation right now. So I go in and interrupt that capture. Once again, you don't want him to get the capture. This is not what you want to happen. So, despite this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movements in order to hit this battlecopter with the anti-air, if he did get power, he would be able to get it. But he's so far away from power, like 16,000, I just don't really see a world where he can get that this turn. So I feel like this was a safe move. Bring the battlecopter super far forward. Backed up by a lot of tank support too. 4 tanks in that area. And that 1 2 HP tank that survived the initial battle and is now at 8 HP. It is healing, folks. Now consider this. I have 6 tanks. Truniht has 7. So I would have had 5 tanks. And Truniht would have had 7. Which would have been a lot different in the grand scheme of things. But I also have a battlecopter. So tactically we're mostly even on overall firepower. But he does have an anti-air, so I gotta watch out for that. And also, one of his tanks is at 1 HP, so it's not really anything to worry about at the moment. Alright, so he He puts his guys in the middle of the map. This is a dangerous situation. But I feel like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks plus battlecopter. I feel like there is an attack that I can do here. So with 11 minutes on the clock, I pop the power. And then I go in, take a strike there, take another strike. Manage to get the clear. Tank moves in right here. Battlecopter moves in, gets another clear. Bring another tank forward, get an attack right there, first strike, and then get another first strike. So I managed to put all of my pieces in the middle of the map, clearing, I'm going to say 3 tanks, because 2 of them are like half health right now. So we're just going to count that as 3. I think that's fair. That is fair. Now the last thing I need to do is to move infantry onto this property right here. Or just right there. That's fine. There we go. Get the capture. Bring the tank over to the HQ area, because that is really where it needs to go. Double drop infantry down to Trunit's HQ. Now I'm putting massive pressure right there, and I actually block the property with the 1 HP infantry as well. Now I lost a little bit of time there. I took a little bit of time on that game, or that turn, but I think it was worth it in the long run. Now there's actually a side story to this entire game as well. As this game was going on, I just got a puppy. Okay? So I got a little tiny pug puppy at home. And that puppy started crying from upstairs, so I had to leave my computer. And I had to go upstairs, and I had to take care of it. So that was one thing that happened. Another thing that happened was I heard some commotion upstairs once again. Went upstairs and realized that my poor dog had just vomited all over the place. So that was pretty gross. I had to clean that up during this match as well. So that was very unfortunate. Third thing that happened was somewhere in the later game, my toddler woke up and I had to run upstairs and go put her back to sleep. So that was 3 things that I had to go do, which all required me to run away from the computer and go and take care of this business. So yeah, guys and girls out there, if you want to have children or animals, just know that if you want to play Live League at the exact same time, you're gonna have to run away from your computer all the time and go take care of business, because it was wild. The most important thing out of all those things that happened was every single time I washed my hands. So we stayed clean, folks. Get soap. That's what it's all about. All right, Truniht popping the power. Gets the clear on 1 tank. Gets an attack on a 2nd tank. Now this could be extremely dangerous. If this tank clears my 7 HP tank, which is a slim margin, but it is possible, I believe. Now let's just check the damage calculator and see for sure if it's possible. I do have a power activated right now. So 59 to 67%. That is fairly good odds. I don't know how much chip damage this tank has. If this clears, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lose the battlecopter if this clears. And it doesn't. What an absolute unit. Absolute unit. But he does get the interrupt on my infantry, which is very unfortunate. Definitely very unfortunate right there. So now I'm down to 1 fresh tank, 1 7 HP tank, 1 HP tank, and a battlecopter in the center versus essentially 3 full HP tanks and an anti-air. And even my infantry gets hit. And I'm about to lose a property. And he busts out another 2 tanks. Dangerous times, folks. 7 tanks to 6, and mine are super injured. Now, there's a possibility that I get this property, though. That is one thing that's cool about this entire situation. So, first thing I do in this situation is I clear the 4 HP tank. Now, that is incredibly vital to the success of this entire mission, folks. As we clear that, then we get an attack on the anti-air. That guy's sitting at 4. And I bring the battlecopter in, and we are rolling, folks. We are praying to Nell for a good hit, and Nell favors us with her luck, folks. That also allows me to get a co-power. So pop in a mid-turn co-power. Now you might be wondering, Semi, why are we popping a mid-turn co-power? Well, there's only one specific reason, folks, and that is because we can get a first strike on this tank right here. This tank needs to go. At this point, I really don't even care about the city. The city doesn't matter. I can lose the city temporarily because I'm about to flip another city. That tank needs to go. So we got to get that guy out of here. Now I'm threatening 3 captures at the exact same time. This cap right now is guaranteed. This guy's not going to be able to interrupt. This cap can get interrupted. This cap can get interrupted. Right? So more likely than not, Trunit's tank at 5 HP is going to go up and interrupt this one, which means I'm guaranteed to get 2 properties here for the price of 1. Which is going to put me ahead. There is going to be one turn that I'm going to have to deal with only getting 13,000 income though. Which is, you know, not going to be great. And I eat another 2 tank strikes. Infantry clears, but now the important thing is I have a free battlecopter in the center of the map, which is going to be able to cause a whole lot of carnage. Or at least 1 turn. So let's see what I managed to do with the battlecopter. And there is actually a chance that this capture does go through, but I can easily see infantry tank going in and getting the clear on this. For sure. So it's probably not going to go through. It's more of a distraction tactic than anything. Alright, so double attack the infantry up north. Battlecopter attacks. The tank clears with 2 HP. 3 HP to 1 HP. Gets the clear. Block the city. And then attack the tank. And then bring the other tanks forward. Getting a heal on the 4 HP tank. And then bringing it up north, folks. Now we have a little bit of a buffer up north in the HQ region. So this 1 infantry right here would be able to cause a whole lot of havoc over here and maybe even flip a property. But because I'm bringing this tank over here, it can either attack right here or move onto city or HQ and start getting heals. And slowly but surely I will have another full HP tank in that area. So that's super important. Alright, so he's going for the clear, and he gets the clear on my property. So I'm not going to be able to hold that. It's gone. The dream is out of here, and Truniht busts out the battlecopter. Finally gets the battlecopter on the field. It is now day 15. And I have a whole whack load of units in the middle of the map. So, very nice. Could have got a boosty with the black boat, but I think I actually just forgot. But I don't think that a boosty would have been like overly effective because the main thing that I'm trying to do with this infantry is get them over here. So this is actually a better route than boosting right here and going up, because now I can just move right here and then move right onto the mountain. Or not the mountain, the city. Alright, and now I get a little bit adventurous. I don't really know what I was thinking with this move. But I get adventurous. I bring 3 tanks forward to attack a few tanks over there. And I'm in base range right now, which is incredibly dangerous. And Truniht pops the power. Alright, so doesn't get the clear with the infantry, which is very unfortunate. But clears a 6 HP and attacks the 2 HP tank. So now I just basically threw those units away. I'm not sure why I did that. Wasn't really the smartest of moves. And we have a little bit of situation. Got a situation now. As Truniht has moved the anti-air and an 8 HP tank into the HQ region. I only have a 6 HP tank right here. and one of the properties is about to be flipped. I can't move in Battlecopter, because if I move in Battlecopter, I lose it to anti-air. So that is not a situation I want to be stuck in. I need to have the Battlecopter. I need to have the presence over there. So I have a very important decision to make. And it's, do I want to sacrifice the 6 HP tank to interrupt the capture and then lose it and then eventually just lose the property? Or do I want to bring it back and be more defensive? I'd be more defensive. I think that's a better tactic in this situation. So unfortunately, we're going to lose the city. So that'll put me behind 15 to 14. But I have threat of HQ cap right now. So Truniht has to bring units over there. And he's bringing the rest of his tanks into the center of the map, backed up by a Battlecopter. Now he's got a very strong position in the middle. Now I am ahead by like 19,000 value, so that's pretty good. I'm going to make a play to get the city. And I block it with the Battlecopter so that it is impossible to break this. The only way that he can break this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he could break it by using anti-air and then moving him with tank to get the interrupt. But he can't break it down here. So it's safe for now. And with like 12k in order to get a power may or may not happen. But these guys are super vulnerable. I can't attack into this. That's not going to work. Mainly because of how it's positioned. So these guys, it's in like an L formation, right? You got a little corner attack here. If you're ever attacking into a corner, there's only one tile to attack from, so you can only hit one of these two tanks, and you get counter-attacked by both of them, and you just lose your tank. So an attack into that sort of an area is never really worth it. Unless there's like an absolutely critical reason for you to go in for the attack. But in this situation, there's not. So I bring the rest of my tanks up north, and I threaten an HQ cap. I don't expect the HQ cap to go through, but I just want Truniht to think about it. You know, I want him to think about it. I want him to have to react. Because at this point, I'm pretty sure this is when I came back. Yeah, so you can see that I'm at 2 minutes and 44 seconds on the clock. Now, that wasn't because of like poor time management or anything. That was because I literally had to leave the computer to go take care of all this stuff at my house. And it was wild. It was a wild time. Alright, so he gets the clear. And now he's threatening another capture. Interrupts the HQ, brings the tank down, gets it down to 4. Unfortunately, that is not great for me. So HQ cap is not going to go through. Even if I join the infantry now at this point, it's not going to go through because he's got an attack here. He'll be able to loop around with tank, attack here, and then attack with this. So 3-pronged attack will take this guy way below 6. So it's not going to go through. So now pretty much the best course of action that I think that I have is to bring infantry back, move infantry onto HQ, clear this infantry so I at least keep his unit count down in that area. And then maybe shift all these guys down to start putting massive pressure down there. But I have to figure out something to clear this, right? And there is a clear. There's definitely a clear potential here. And I see it. And I'm going to go for it. Right? So side slipping. Use Battlecopter to attack infantry. Attack the infantry again. Use the tank to attack the anti-air. Then bring one more tank up. Because now I have 2 tanks versus 2 tanks. But I also have a Battlecopter. So overall, I will win that fight. But Trunit's got a Battlecopter spam coming. So that is going to be very dangerous. But I attack a tank, and then I bring all the other tanks down south. And now I am going to be pushing that HQ. And Trunit's down to 68,000 value. And ends up resigning at that point, folks. So we managed to get the first win against Truniht in my Advanced Wars by Web career. Truniht is an absolute monster in Live League, folks. Absolute monster. So I was very happy to finally take a game against him. There are still other Advanced Wars by Web Titans that I need to take down in the Live League. So hopefully, over the course of my 10-year playing, we will be able to do so. But I'm happy to take this win. I think it was a great game. And I think mainly, the one thing that really got Truniht behind was just not managing that black boat. If he had had the black boat, there could have been a lot more pressure happening in this region, and maybe even in this region. So because I kept the black boat alive and had the awareness that, you know, wasn't going to be able to just move him around non-stop. I have to close that. Wasn't going to be able to move him around non-stop. I think it definitely secured the win. But definitely some tactics in there as well. Hopefully you all enjoyed that one. And if you did, consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care of yourselves. And bye-bye for now.